Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers, and I am the owner and operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and I want to welcome you to our program today, in which I take an individual horror film from any different subgenre and decade, and me and special guests will sit back, relax, and have a conversation about that film. Sometimes it's going to be a critique analysis, and sometimes it's just us shooting the shit about a movie either we hate or we love, or there's a whole bunch of in between. Now, the film that we're going to be talking about today, I don't know where all of my guests are going to be sitting on this film because it's an interesting film. And since we are doing our amazing month of Wes Craven films, we are tackling his early films. So it should be very, very interesting conversation. Before I get to the title of the film, I do want to introduce my two special guests for this show, and that is Mr. John Conkle and Mr. Thomas Tenorello. Thank you so much for coming in today.
All right. Thanks for having us again, Mr.
Excellent.
Mr.
It's always a pleasure to have you guys here.
Thank you, Kevin.
Well, we like to talk about horror films, and you guys love these things. So, but the movie we are talking about today is Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes from 1977. Now, this is one of his early movies, so it's going to be really interesting about this conversation because of his style in this film, as opposed to his style in latter films, like we've already discussed, like Scream or some of his other films. So
did you guys do the whole of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise?
We have not. We have only done the first movie in that franchise. We will get around to some of the other ones later.
Oh, good, because that means I can jump in on 1, 3, and New Nightmare. Yep, the only really good ones.
Oh, come on, 1, 3, and 5. Part 5 as this
Dream Child, baby, the Dream Child.
Dream Child, baby. No, come on now. Anyway,
you guys are so much fun. This is gonna be fun. So, getting started off with The Hills Have Eyes from 1977. What was your your first time seeing this film, and what were kind of your general impressions of it when you saw it? Let's start off with you, Thomas.
Well, Kevin, thank you for having me once again. So basically, that's my little kitty. Hi, Gumpy. Gumpy's trying to eat me right now, so you might periodically hear him chomping on my flesh. Yes, he does now. So like my first, let me get my little thingy open here. So yeah, my first time I think I saw this, it had to be, like I heard of it by reputation through Mr. Joe Bob Briggs of The Last Drive-In, and before that of Monster Vision on TNT, which is where I first was exposed to Joe Bob. For those of you who don't know, Joe Bob Briggs was probably the greatest horror host of all time and grand high patron of the drive-in. The drive-in will never die. And I highly recommend, if you don't have Shudder, go ahead and tune in and watch some greatness. So he, I'm sure that I saw a little bit of him hosting this on Monster Vision, and it might have been an episode where he was interviewing Michael Berryman, who plays Pluto in this movie, and he is easily the most famous of the inbred mutants in this movie because he's on the poster of this movie. This is the movie that made him a star amongst horror fans. It was only his third motion picture. But I never actually watched it in its entirety uncensored until I can't even remember why I was seeing it, but I know I watched it streaming somewhere, and it was a really good copy, and I remember liking it quite a bit. It may have, it may have been because like the remake had come out, and I was trying to be like, I need to watch the OG. So yeah, I remember thinking it's my my initial thought when it was done, it was like, this is the greatest Texas Chainsaw Massacre ripoff of all time.
Right. Yeah.
I've never heard anyone say that. That's very interesting that you brought that up. Okay, that's very interesting. All right. What about you, Conkle?
Okay, so yeah. All right. So all right. So Hills Have Eyes, right? Okay. So I saw it, it was always on the video store shelves, the Michael Berryman's, just that poster is so like, what is this crazy thing, And you think it's going to be like a Freddy or a Jason movie just because of my age, you think it's going to be that weird looking guy out there killing people, and he's going to be like a slasher kind of thing, because I kind of like learned all this stuff during the slasher genre stuff. So this is kind of cool because this is I saw it probably high school, finally getting around to renting it, and and so it's not a slasher movie. It comes out before that kind of cycle kind of cranked up, and what got me was, it really didn't leave much of an impression when I first saw it. It kind of happened, and I was going like, well, yeah, this is kind of like, cheap little drive-in movie, but it didn't really I didn't really get like an emotional attachment to it or anything like that. I think I was probably more into like, Big's kind of like the Texas Chainsaw 2 Looney Tune everything cranked up to 70 kind of that came after, there was the classic horror movies of the 70s, and then there were the big cash-ins in the 80s where they just like gave everybody all the money and were like, hey, let's make the Diet Coke version of this movie. And it came and went, all right. And then, I saw the sequel a few years later. We'll just skip for the next episode. But I was going like, what is this the same How is this the same director? Anyway, and then because Wes Craven was all over the place, King of Horror, and then the remakes came out, and I thought like, oh, that's good. It's a little much, it's a little much. It's fine, but it's a little much, So anyway, but the Hills Have Eyes series just never really I thought that was cool. And I like what they sort of did in some of the remake, but even the remakes didn't really connect with me until I watched this movie for the second time, 90 minutes before we started this recording. Okay. So I was just like, okay, well, it looks like 5 people are scheduled to be on the podcast tonight, but I'll watch this real quick and see, maybe I'll get a word in and everything like that. But so it's kind of cool that everything worked out the way it did, because I watched this and I was going like, this is terrible, but but it despite it being terrible, and yes, when it first started, Tom, I was with you. I was going like, this is like, yeah, they said like, hey, Wes, make us like a Texas Chainsaw movie, And it starts off and you go like, oh yeah, this is like a really good Texas Chainsaw, but without any of the skill or nuance or anything, That's what I got at the beginning, And then as the movie progresses, as it clumsily fumbles between scene to next scene, and it's like maybe community theater acting on some of the people, it fumbles forward, but then it starts picking up this momentum. And I gotta say, I would say about 30 minutes into the movie, I guess right about when they break down into the thing, it like really kind of catches its hooks in you. And then you're going like, this is still kind of bad, but it's kind of bad in the way for me, an Argento movie is bad in that it's not realistic, but it's very much how you would dream this story for me. Like I felt like me, if I told you the plot of this movie, it would be like, I would feel like I was reciting a nightmare I had, And so at that point, the mannered acting and the clumsy camera work and the weird dynamics start really working in its favor, kind of like Toby Hooper's Eaten Alive, it's where it's like, yeah, none of this is really good, but sort of it not being good is adding to the effect, of it being all dreamlike, So I got to tell you, I walked away from this going like, at the first I was going like, that first scene where the cave girl, is talking to the gas station guy. I'm going like, oh my gosh, this is like Herschel Gordon Lewis bad, And
Wow.
I was just like, oh, this is like so painful. And I'm going like, how did Wes go from this to like being like the toast of Hollywood eventually? How did he go from this to making a Meryl Streep violin movie, And I'm going like, what's going on? Because this is like rough, but man, I hand it to him. The way the movie is structured and the dynamic of the characters and the weird escalation of the events really do pull you in, and it does strike some very nightmare fuel type themes. So I don't know. I was really down with it by the time I was over. I was like, bravo, I might have to buy this. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, so
Kevin, you go.
well, mine's gonna be much different because I
Okay.
came to this film by way of the second movie. So
Yeah.
I didn't see this movie until the 80s when the second movie came out. The second movie came out in 84, so I probably saw it in 85 because you know how long it takes movies that go
Yeah.
theatrical to get on VHS in those days. So
Mhm. Yeah.
I ended up seeing this film with the second film. I
Mhm.
can't remember if I saw which one first. I will tell
Mhm.
you this. I saw the second one way more times as a kid than I saw this one because for me,
Oh.
the second film was more fun.
Oh,
Mhm.
interesting.
The second film was
Interesting.
more fun to me as a kid. I now believe that as a child, we like things to be more fun than actually make any goddamn sense. Because
Dude.
as everyone knows, the
Yes.
second movie doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of goddamn sense.
No, but kind of like Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, it's kind of like all the best parts of the first one, and then,
Yes.
so it's kind of, I can see how you would like part 2 better, I mean, I get it.
That's a good analogy right there, dude. That's a good
Yeah.
analogy. That's exactly how it was. So I grew up watching the second one a lot.
Oh,
The
okay.
first one I thought I can only guess that the first one I thought was too close to Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well. Texas
Yeah.
Chainsaw Massacre as a kid, I did not like. I did not
Yeah.
like that movie.
Yeah.
Movie, and it's not just because I thought it was horrifying. I thought it was like mind numbing with some of the stuff that went in there, and that's how I think I felt about the first one of this film when I was a kid. I couldn't say that about Last House on the Left. Which is also very raw as well for Wes Craven movie.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see that until much, much, much
Oh,
later.
yeah.
I did not watch Last
Same.
House on the Left as a kid. I had not seen it until I
Me
was
Oh, good.
no.
Because you would have had a messed up childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw that after I got into studying Wes Craven's films, and I searched that one out. But these two, the Hills Have Eyes movies, I grew up in the 80s watching the second one, loving the second one, thinking
Wow.
that the franchise was fucking brilliant. And
Oh.
when you get older and you start learning how to dissect movies, you go back and rewatch the movies and was like, okay, that's not a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a dumb kid, wasn't I?
No,
Dude, there's a lot of movies from the 80s that I watched as a kid and thought they were the greatest movies ever made, and then I
Yeah.
rewatch them now after having gone to school and studied and how to critique and analyze and realize, holy shit, this movie is god awful. Why? I like this movie so much as a kid.
Yeah.
Have Eyes
No,
franchise
no.
was that. I have no
Yeah.
idea why I liked it. Like I watched this. Like I may have loved the second one as a child, but I watched both of them a lot, and I probably should not have for some odd fucking reason.
Yeah.
And this is before I knew who Wes Craven really was, to be honest with you. So for some reason, something in the second movie struck a chord with me, and I watched these movies more times than I ever should have. But when I rewatched it here for this podcast, I am under the same impression that kind of you are, Conkle. It's like it's a really raw movie, and it's not all that good in
You're right.
story.
Yeah.
It has this impression that it gives you as an audience. And I can understand why it was popular when it first came out and made money, because like Last House on the Left, it's this raw and this grungy feeling movie. And it doesn't have a lot, in my opinion, it doesn't have as much substance as Wes Craven's latter films. And so I don't think it holds up nearly as well.
Well,
I think part of the reason why this was so like, I don't know how much it made at the box office, but I'm sure it cleaned up at the drive-in. But I think the reason why this and some of his other earlier stuff made such an impact that it did, um, and made him so infamous, as it were, is
Mhm.
because he was tapping into that post-Vietnam
Yes.
kind
Mm.
of trauma that
Mm.
America was going through in the 70s.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's much more prevalent in Last House,
Mhm.
but here it's still under the surface. And I would say that because of that, this movie is a whole lot more palatable
Mm.
and populist, if that's the right word to use, than
Mm.
Last House.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Yeah.
And so as a result, it's much more easier to digest and more easier to feel less grungy and dirty
Mhm.
after watching it. Now
Yeah.
it feels more like some like primal like entertainment, as it were.
Yes, it does. Because Last House on the Left is like it's that's almost a mean spirited movie
Mm.
right there, as
Mm.
opposed to this film here. I
and
kind
yet
of
they're and yet they're I'm sorry, but and yet it's I'm glad you mentioned that because I feel like they do share a lot of DNA though, even though
Mm.
they were made a few years apart. There is
Yeah.
because there's one major thing that they both share in common aside from Wes is that they both have the same theme and they
Mm.
both have the same kind of narrative resolution, which is this
Mm.
idea of taking the American nuclear family,
Mhm.
having some horrible group of man monsters,
Mhm.
in one way or another, assault them,
Mhm.
take away things from them, whether it be, and through, and sexual violence, of course, is a big part of it, by the way. Trigger
Mm.
warning for anybody who's, for
Yeah.
that, because we're going to talk about that a bit on this. Um, and and then of course the
Mhm.
retaliation that comes from that, and
hmm
that's
Mhm.
all part and partial to kind of a very kind of liberal hippie kind of understanding of the Vietnam War. But for
Yeah.
whatever reason, West is, in his genius, thought, wouldn't it be neat if we took some old folklore,
song
and
themes.
used that
Yeah.
to kind of tell a story with those themes that is relevant to the 70s America.
Yeah.
So with the violence in it and everything is all kind of reminiscent of the violence of the Vietnam War and the violence of the Manson family murders, which
Mhm.
again, Last House goes way harder into
Yeah.
the Manson family connection, but I still say it's a little bit here too,
Mhm.
if for no other reason but like the kind of cultish nature of the cave people. I
Mhm.
prefer to call them inbred cannibal mutants.
Okay.
So we're going to
Okay.
call them that from now on. They're cannibal
Okay.
mutants.
They're not the
And
mutants yet. They're the mutants in the remake.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Well,
they're kind of still
something
mutants.
something's going on with Berryman, man.
I feel like, well, we'll talk more about him because he's a fantastic, he's an interesting character just in and of himself. Because some people may or may not know this, but Michael Berryman technically is a
Yeah.
radiated mutant in real
Yeah.
life. That's why he looks like that. Because
Yeah.
his dad was a in the Marines, and he was sent to Hiroshima to take pictures
Wow.
of the devastation and also help with the wounded there.
Wow.
And he went into like hot zones for radiation there,
Hmm.
and sure enough, he was radiated. And
Yeah.
Michael was conceived shortly after that, and that's why he looks the way he does, because
Well,
he was
yeah.
born with like some birth defects that they had to reconstruct his cranium.
Mm.
He was born without fingertips and toenails,
Yeah.
and he has no sweat glands either,
Yeah.
which was really hard making this movie.
I was thinking that. I was going like he must have almost died, you
He
know?
must yeah, they had to be very careful that he didn't
Yeah.
die, because the
Yeah.
poor man cannot sweat. His
Right.
body cannot cool itself in 105-degree weather in the desert where they were shooting this daggum movie.
Yeah. That's really interesting, the story of his dad and everything, because that just so fits in thematically into this movie with, the fighter planes going over and
Yeah.
that they are kind of in a test site, like an old nuclear test site. And, Berryman is basically a victim of like the military industrial complex and everything,
Yeah,
and that's sort of what he is in this movie, you know. So that's pretty wild. Didn't know that story.
yeah, yeah.
They
So,
just touch upon some of the aspects in this movie. They really go into it in the remake.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Uh,
They leaned harder into it in the remake,
oh
and
yeah.
I feel like they made a conscious effort in the remake, although I haven't seen it. I
Yeah.
want to though. I still haven't seen it. I
Oh,
know I didn't get around. You know why I didn't see it? Because at the time, you have to realize when the Hills Have Eyes 2 remake came out, this was the height of the torture porn era. This was
Yeah.
when Saw was reigning supreme.
Yeah.
So I thought that this was a cash in on that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know, and that's kind of why I avoided it.
it's
So
more of the French extremist
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Alexander Aja, and his
yeah.
high tension type of thing. This is
Oh, he's French. Oh, I thought
yeah.
he was Spanish for some stupid reason.
No. No.
He was, yeah, it's a natural progression for him and what he did with high tension and everything else. Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
yeah, he did we get off on the remake just for a few moments on here, but the remake is they took like the inspiration from this movie and some of the ideals that could have played out in this movie, and they expand the fuck out of them
Yeah.
in the remake, and it's a really good remake. It's one of the best remakes during that remake cycle. Is this film?
Hmm.
During the remake cycle, but I would say having rewatched the original tonight, I was going like, man, I got something out of this that I didn't get out of the remake, you know. And I think there's something maybe it's just I like high tension, but I think the original, as probably as seen as graphic and as terrible as it was, I was going like, this is pretty tame compared to the remake, you know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
most
yeah,
definitely. The
yeah,
remake is not tame
yeah.
at all.
No. It's you watch the remake kind of like this at
It's
points, you
brutal.
know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
brutal.
yeah.
And that's assuming that you watched the theatrical. I heard the unrated director's cut is much worse.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, a lot of more spurting and
Yeah, a
you
lot more
know.
blood. Yeah, yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and this one here, like we don't see the rape scene. It's
yeah,
implied that there's a rape scene. It's not like Last House on the Left where we actually see it.
yeah,
And we see the aftermath of it. We actually don't see much of the aftermath here. We just see the reaction from the Brenda character. So a lot of that violence is not nearly as on screen as you would think it is. Even
yeah.
when big the father,
Big Bob.
Big Bob. Big Bob
Right.
is put the flames. It's you don't see him put the flames at first. You just see the fireball, and then we go in and we see
Yeah.
like some of it. I think in the remake, if I'm not mistaken, they burn the hell out of Ted Levine.
They do, but it's like CG fire, and so I was
But
kind of like going.
I hate CG fire.
I was kind of watching this, going like, I kind of like the old way. They did it better with there's just a fire bar, and I'm going like, oh,
well, no, they don't use real fire for anything anymore nowadays.
yeah.
I got
so-
used to it.
So
Yeah.
for those,
I get
so for
you.
those of
It's a
y'all-
good scene.
yes, I just want to make sure that everybody who's listening is on the same page. Just for those of y'all who don't know that, for those of you who might not have seen this movie
Oh,
that we're talking here, and you're just here to learn more about Mr. Craven's Oeuvre, which you should. This is the heartwarming story of a family who's driving cross country from Colorado to California in a station wagon pulling a Winnebago, or vice versa. I'm not sure which it is, but they're cross countrying and they stop by a gas station in the middle of the desert, and they're going to go down this road, and the crusty old farm guy there says, "You shouldn't go down there. You don't want to go down there.
Nope.
There's nothing out there but wild animals."
Right.
Which we find out later he was correct
Yeah.
on all of that.
Yeah.
But but he's just trying to tell them not to go there, and of course they go there and find and and actually they crash their car, and then they have to try and get out and maybe go back, find the gas station again, and get someone to help. And that's of course when they get victimized by a family, a very close-knit family of inbred mutant and possibly radioactive mutant cannibals in The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah. Well, I want to add in. There's some details I want to add in. One is that the Big Bob and Ethel, who are the matriarch and patriarch, they're celebrating their anniversary, and so they want to go to a silver mine in the hills, which is why they've been taking these back roads to get to California. It's like the
Yeah.
big nuclear family taking a vacation for a very specific reason. But of course, when they go to the gas station, which has no gas anymore because no one goes out to that part of the world, which reminds me
Right.
of everything that is the story is set up from Psycho, by the way, where
Right.
Oh,
the Bates Motel is built on a highway that no one uses anymore.
Mm.
This one, they are warned multiple times by Fred, the owner of the gas station, not to go out there. Like he specifically tells them multiple times, there's nothing out there. There's no silver out there. There's nothing but wild animals out there. Multiple times he's warned. It's so I didn't realize he did it so much. Like
Yeah. He's like, Crazy Ralph on crack. He's just
Well,
like,
yeah,
don't do it. Don't do it.
they don't. The Big Bob doesn't listen because he thinks because he's an ex-cop, he's better than everyone. And he's not just an ex-cop; he's a racist ex-cop too.
Oh yeah.
He's a racist ex-cop who also doesn't like the other police officers he worked with because he even mentions he got shot by his own people.
Right.
I'm like, dude, this is like the worst type of patriarch person that you could think of, and he even calls his wife names at one point. It blames her for the wreck. Like, dude, I was actually, and I don't think I ever picked up on this when I was a kid in the 80s watching this movie, but I picked it up this time. I was like, I can't wait till you die.
Yeah, dude. He is the worst. He is the worst. He's kind of like Archie Bunker. He's just like I was thinking he's like the worst actor too. He's like he's not good. And he is like community theater like low community theater acting. And but he's entertaining because all his mannerisms, he thinks it's almost like he's in a bad sitcom. And the whole family looks like the Partridge Family, you know. They look like the Brady Bunch, you know. I mean, they're
that's
like
intentional.
Yeah, they're blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pretty Pepsi people, you know, and
they're proud gun owners, and they're like the
gun owners,
Republican nuclear family, which actually plays into the remake, which does a different ideal between the Republican parties of the family and the more Democratic people in the family. Those are aspects of the remake I really like that they drew from this film. This film, they just kind of all lumped them together. It just made the patriarch like that. Like all the bad shit in this family is them, and the mother Ethel is this overly religious one. Like she wants to pray before they all splinter off. And she always comments on her husband on the bad words he uses and stuff like that. I was like, oh, shit, I didn't pick up before now because guarantee you in the 80s, I didn't give it two shits about all that stuff. I just want to see people die pretty much.
No, that's what's really cool about the movie is it is like also like how it was like going, wow, this could be made today. You know, like if this was like, you know, because they are kind of like cartoon Republican conservative family, you know, and everything. And they even say like, well, we can't sit around and wait for the army to come save us. We gotta pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and do it ourselves, you know. It's like that can do.
That's an interesting, that's an interesting point you bring up, John, because like if they did make it today, I wonder how people would take it. I mean, obviously they'd have to change everything to kind of be sneaky about it, because like I wonder, like if you have like a MAGA hat wearing family who is like who ends up like being forced by circumstance to submit to their worst impulses, and it ends up saving them basically. Well, that's like, I don't know how people would react to that these days. I feel like there'd be a whole chunk of people who would completely misinterpret it.
So when Alexander Aja did the remake, some of those ideals creeped in, but our political landscape back then was not nearly as polarized as it is now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how it would play today.
Now, it would be a totally different movie. I guarantee you it would be a lot of this, the more of the political commentary would be played up even more than it was in the remake. And even when I saw the remake, I saw it in the remake back then. But I could guarantee you there'd be someone wearing the MAGA hat. There'd probably be, instead of the whole family being a nuclear white family, you'd have some interracial characters in there. Probably the son-in-law might be black or Hispanic or something like that. And you'd have all that in there now, dude. You know, it would be interesting. It would be interesting because you could have like the Big Bob be the white MAGA hat wearing guy, and then you could have the Ethel character be you can put the Ethel character as like a religious Asian person, or I don't know, but you would have something like that because you would play up those cultural things.
Oh yeah, and you'd probably have like the son come out as gay during the trip.
Oh yeah, you definitely have that.
And then he's the one who massacres the last two guys at the end.
Well, yeah. He would not have a gun at the very beginning, but then by the end he'd be forced to use a gun and weapons and stuff. Yeah, you would definitely see that shit, and they would be playing all those type of subtexts and commentary on there. It'd be interesting. Because this is actually a really simple story about a nuclear family who goes out in the hills and gets assaulted by the rural natives of the land.
And look, here it is. It's a nuclear family being attacked by a nuclear family, basically.
Or you could think about it this way. You could think about it as this is a Western, if you think about it. It's a bunch of prairie. You could easily transpose this to the prairie,
right?
And the settlers coming out,
wagon train,
and get assaulted by Native Americans.
Yeah. Well, they're kind of dressed like Native Americans, you know. I mean, it's
there's
like
one guy
post-apocalyptic Native Americans,
yeah. That's the thing that I always loved about the look of these cannibals.
You might not be able to do that in this day and age, making the Native Americans be the villains like that, unless you had a reason. Like they would have to be crossing over a burial ground or something.
A burial ground, but like Kevin, who's saying villains? Who's saying villains? You could do like a Cormac McCarthy type thing where you humanize them so much that you could totally see, them from their perspective.
Yeah, the nuclear family is the villains.
No, dude. This movie, I think this was the strength of this movie, and actually of Last House on the Left, is that Wes Craven, and especially in this one, takes moments to humanize the evil people, because you're kind of going like, these people are really, I mean, it's probably his very hippy dippy 70s viewpoint, but he's going like, the literal nuclear family is basically a product of their environment. I mean, they're living on the rare scorpion and through trade, and it is kind of like a Native American kind of thing a little bit, but I mean, these people are living basically on the moon, all right? And this, but what's so cool is he gives almost equal time to show how they love each other and how they interact and their social dynamic as he does with the Pepsi people in the Winnebago, and so it almost becomes like this weird mirror of how they. And I think it's probably a very 70s, what you said about Vietnam, and probably like him, kind of making a statement of like, these are, we are people protecting our clan, and they are people protecting their clan. And we're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But we're just kind of like those people are completely justified on trying to eat the dog because they just like, we haven't had meat in forever. And they're like survival mode.
Yes,
and this is like the bourgeoisie coming in and saying like, we've got Coca-Cola and we've got Winnebagos and we've got air conditioning in the car and we've got all this stuff. But when it comes to the threat, we are just like them. We are them and they are us. And had they been, switched places with Dan Aykroyd, they would have been, Wall Street people. It's just and this guy, the leader of the family is like the son of the gas station guy who was, born deformed and beaten with a crowbar and his face is all broken. But I mean, it's just like, it's kind of like and the whole land being like irradiated due to nuclear testing. This is just kind of like, they are the post-apocalyptic nuclear family, and what happens Violence does not go away. These are children of violence. These are children of sin, national sin, basically,
Yeah,
and it's rising up and they're eating. It's like the demons are just desserts. This is what America has produced, and it's rising up and it's eating the bourgeois class there. The middle class. And so it's really cool. But both are kind of seen as they're given equal time. Back on Night of Last House on the Left, after they kill those girls, they have a moment of just like, what have we done? What are we doing? That where they look at each other like in disgust,
there's that
like
look on Krug's face.
Yeah.
He can't believe that he actually went that far.
Yeah.
Yes, I did notice that when I rewatched that. I was like, oh shit. I don't remember ever seeing that look on his face before.
Right. And so that's what I think. That's why this movie keeps going, because it's not technically well made, but it does have that weird thing baked into it. That I think Wes Craven is kind of a thinker, and so even if he's fumbling through this movie, he's got like a theme there, and so. Yeah,
he's not just, he is a thinker. And I don't know, and that's an understatement, because I want to talk a little bit about Mr. West's background and everything, because it plays into all that. Like, because I don't know what schedule is the podcast is, if this is going to be the first or not. I don't know, probably not. But if it is somehow, if you guys out there listening are starting your journey into Wes Craven with this one, let us be your guide a little bit. So Wes Craven, by all accounts, was like the most like calm, zen, intellectual human being that anyone had ever met. Like I think Eddie Murphy called him Professor Wesley, because when they were doing Vampire in Brooklyn, because he had the aura of a college professor. Wes actually went to, as far as college goes, he I don't think he graduated, but he went to Wheaton College, which is one of the most prestigious evangelical Christian universities in the country. He was getting a degree in journalism and theology, I think. But they kicked him out because he was doing a story exposing some corruption in the faculty at Wheaton, and they kicked him out for it. So it was shortly after that he probably started getting himself out of the very strict Baptist upbringing that his parents had over him. And in fact, they were so strict to the point where I think Craven said one time that he never even saw a live action movie that wasn't Disney or Bambi until he was in his 20s.
Yeah. And you can see from Last House on the Left, that is a movie made by somebody who has lived very repressed.
But I agree with you, but I feel like that kind of play is part of the strength of Wes Craven. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Because I think Wes has become kind of what I would call, and there's other artists I can put into this category too. I think when the art world they call an ignorant artist, and we don't mean that in a derogatory term. An ignorant artist is simply an artist who is well accomplished, who never studied the art in a formal school. Wes Craven never went to film school. Wes Craven didn't even get into film until way late in his life. And it's the same thing with there's other great ignorant artists like Werner Herzog, who also famously never went to film school. The only person who ever taught me anything about film was Klaus Kinski on my first movie I worked with him on. That's it. He taught himself everything. And Werner Herzog is a genius. And there's plenty of other guys who are like that. And I think because of that, because he's an ignorant artist, he approaches film in a different way, because it's all that anybody else who grew up with all that stuff, because it's all new to him. When he watched Bergman was all new to him. And we'll talk more about the Bergman connection and influence on Last House on the Left, because it's much more apparent there. This one, I think he probably had more of a Western influence, probably from some early John Ford stuff and maybe some Kurosawa. I'm not sure. But yeah, so that's where he comes from. He comes from this evangelical Christian background, thrust into the hippie movement, and then just kind of traumatized by all of the horror that he was seeing around him from the Vietnam War, from Watergate, and from, of course,
Manson.
the Manson family murders. Yes, exactly. So this is where Wes Craven came from, and this is what the sandbox he's playing in. And I think he kind of stumbled into horror because of Last House being such a success. I don't think he had any intention of making a career in this. It's like he tried to get out of it several times to no avail.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
This was the thing that he made this was his second, this was the what I would call I Wasn't a Fluke movie. This is his second hit.
Right.
And Hills Have Eyes 2 became the thing that sustained him between this and Nightmare on Elm Street, because like by the time Hills Have Eyes 2, he was like flat broke and he needed money, and this was the thing that he could fall back on.
Yeah. Which happens with a lot of great directors. They have a huge hit. I mean, what was it? Toby Hooper and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, of course, with Texas Chainsaw 2, that was part of a 3-picture deal with Cannon, where he made 2 other fantastic masterpieces, which is the remake of Invaders from Mars and Life Force, which is the greatest movie he ever made.
I agree.
But yeah, so I want to say, and also, so for this movie, I want to read the taglines to this because they're fantastic. I was looking up at them, and I got 3 taglines for this movie. Number 1, the lucky ones die first.
Yeah.
Next one, a nice American family. They didn't want to kill, but they didn't want to die.
It's awesome.
And then my favorite one, the cheesiest one, hands down, camping out with the family can be murder.
Oh, that's terrible. No, I like that first one. That you can almost like see that being a Chainsaw tagline, like who will survive and what will be left of them, kind of thing.
For sure. Yes, it is. Oh, and so since we're in deep in the throes of this, so like they break down, and like there's several like traps and stuff that they fall into with these cannibals, and eventually they get separated, and the cannibals raid the camper. But before all that happens, though, we need to address, I think, the real big star of this movie, which is the 2 dogs that the family have, Beauty and Beast.
Can you imagine being out of that desert trying to get those dogs to act right? I mean, good God. And he's got a baby.
And the baby. We forgot to mention the baby. Like, if I had to, I had dogs for a long time. We had 2 dogs, and they were not big Alsatian dogs like these hounds. Right. I would be so afraid, even if I had dogs like that, I'd be so afraid of coyotes eating them in the middle of the night.
Sure. Yeah.
These dogs are ferocious already,
Yeah, when you first see them, they're like,
One of them is, at least, because they kill. Spoilers, I'm so sorry, but they kill Beauty. And by the way, when you see that dead body of that poor dog, that is a real dead dog.
Dude, it looks real, yeah.
It's because it is real. It's a dead cadaver, courtesy of the county sheriff's department, which I don't know whose job it was on this movie to wrangle a dead dog, but wow, I didn't know there's a thing you could do.
Yeah, but you could not do it now like that.
No, I don't think you could get away with that nowadays.
No way.
But like, I remember watching this initially, and one of my favorite surprises in this movie, my favorite little scene. I don't think I've ever seen any other movie like this that does this, which is where you have 2 dogs, Beauty and Beast. Beauty gets killed, and Beast gets revenge.
Yeah,
on one of the cannibals, and it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and I was like, yes, good boy, good boy.
The cool thing they do with early in the film is they do say that Beast doesn't bark until it's time to kill, and then they make mention of that the animal that the dog the dog maims and kills that they have to pay for the vet bills, even though the dog died. I don't remember hearing that before, but I was laughing at that this time, and it kind of gives me the impetus that Beast watches in this.
Yeah.
He watches before he strikes, and of course, after he strikes, after he kills Mercury, by more or less knocking him off the cliff,
pushing him off a cliff.
And he takes the radio. He takes the radio and he takes it back to the camper. And of course, later he's with Doug. Look, him, Doug, and the radio are out there looking for the baby. I was like, this is a smart fucking dog in this movie.
This dog was so smart. He's smarter than the cannibals.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. I was fully expecting this dog to like kill several cannibals and become like the Terminator dog.
The dog kills more of the cannibals than anyone else. He kills Mercury and he kills Pluto.
Yeah.
Everybody else only gets to kill one.
Yeah.
And they take a while to die. The humans take like 5 times longer to kill the cannibal than the dog does. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
It's okay.
No, it's true. That dog should have probably fixed the car and drove him back. That dog was like on top of his game, man. For real. And then he shows up in the sequel, but we can't get rid of that.
Well, the thing is, the dog's the most interesting. Out of all the characters in this film, the dog's the most interesting. Because when I rewatched this movie, I couldn't understand for the life of me what Bobby's motivation was and why he was so quiet the entire fucking movie.
Yeah.
Like once he saw the body of Beauty, I don't know why he didn't go screaming saying, this place is fucked up. The dog's dead, mangled in the mountains. There's something wrong here. And he just keeps it in. There's something wrong here, right?
Yeah, that happens twice. Okay, because the old man at the gas station could have said, hey, look, there's crazy people down that road. Do not go off that road. He shouldn't have jumped around it. He should have said, like, don't go down that road. It's a really bad neighborhood. I know it doesn't even look like a neighborhood, but there are crazy people that didn't live down there. Don't go down there. And then, he
should have said that, because his whole impulse at the beginning of the movie is to get his shit and leave. He doesn't plan on staying there. Yeah. And if his plan was to stay there, I would say, okay, so he's not going to tell him about the people that he actually makes money and trades off of. That's fine. But he says right off the bat that this is my last day. I ain't got no gas. I ain't got nothing. No one coming here in ages, and I gotta leave. I was like, well, then why the hell aren't you just telling him, nah, dude, this crazy motherfucking hillbillies up in those hills. They're gonna eat you.
That's right.
Go up that fucking hill.
This is not a time to be vague. And then the son, he's just like, some stuff, but I'm just not gonna say it.
Yeah, it is for so long too.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing. The thing is the product of its time. He will only talk to other male characters. I know why he doesn't talk to. He will not talk to any of the female characters, which is why he keeps it in. He waits until Doug shows up, and he wants to tell Doug, but Doug is too busy wanting to get with his wife.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't tell anyone. And this is the first time where I noticed that when I rewatched it, I was like, Doug, you're a fucking dumbass. But then I had to think about the time of which this movie was made and the impulse for Doug. I mean, the impulse for Bobby, because Bobby doesn't want to tell the women nothing. He doesn't trust the women. In fact, when his sister has the gun, he wants to take the gun away from her. Like he's the most responsible person. He has to have the gun because the women can't take care of themselves.
Right.
Interesting.
I think that may have been Wes Craven intentionally digging on.
Oh no, that's definitely definitely intentionally. Like the only time you see, early on you see the Lynn, played by Dee Wallace, when she gets the upper hand in the camper fight with Mercury. No, with Mars. The names are too fucking similar. Right. With Mars after Pluto's been chased out, and the knife's on the ground, and she'll stab a motherfucker because of her baby and shit like that. She stabbed a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think the downfall of the movie is that they give the hillbillies guns.
Yeah.
I think I think it would have had more oomph if they didn't get the guns, because it made it too easy for them to kill or shoot the mother and kill Lynn, to get us rid of those characters. When the Big Bob had a very interesting death, and then these two just die real quickly by getting shot.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. They don't just kill Bob; they eat him.
I don't know if they eat Bob. Do they eat Bob?
I think they did later on when they're eating something, because I remember looking it up also on IMDb, and it said that when they're eating him, it's like lamb shanks that they bought from the local butcher or something.
They don't. Yeah, it's not explicit, but it is implicit that they're eating this meat, and then Bob's really terrible severed head is like sitting there, he's talking to the severed head, but it's like really fakey severed head, but
hard to recognize him.
But I didn't put the two and two together though, that was Bob. They don't show them reaching and grabbing a chunk off a leg and eating it. They're just eating, and they were eating the dog earlier, and
Ruby was eating the dog, but then she it's funny. She thinks when she hears the howling, it's the spirit of the dog, more that little religious subtext. So they got to have some type of religion for her to believe that the spirit of the dog is calling out to her. She can't eat anymore.
That's cool. That's cool, Kevin. That's a cool connection. Yeah.
And that's probably a leftover from an earlier draft, because apparently there's an earlier draft of this movie where the reason why they were trying to grab the baby was not that they were trying to eat it or steal it, but they were going to sacrifice it in some weird pagan ritual.
Oh, cool.
Well, they definitely want to eat it because he's fat. Because they make Mars makes mention of that. She's good and fat. We're gonna eat that one. Which is interesting.
Yeah. But it's funny too, because I feel like it's this is kind of a little different from some other backwoods cannibals or other cannibal movies from that time period, thinking Cannibal Holocaust. These are not people who eat human flesh raw. They are sophisticated cannibals.
Right.
They will put you on the Barbie. They will saute you on a skillet. Right. They will cook you and season the meat. So these guys, they know what they're doing. Also, I do think it's kind of an interesting choice that Craven made, that he didn't make them. We call them cavemen, but they are not cavemen. They have technology. They have walkie-talkies, that they stole from the Air Force, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if they stole them, because when Doug goes to the surplus place, they say they just threw away lots of shit that still works, and it's like they just dumped it there.
Okay, so then
I never picked up on that.
Me neither. So they salvage stuff. They know how to manipulate. They know how to speak English. They can speak intelligibly, and they have sophisticated family dynamics, and also they have technology. They can use walkie-talkies, and they can use guns.
And they and they have a way of communicating via CB radio, because that's how they're able to manipulate manipulate them later on in the film. I was like, I had forgotten some of these details because as a kid I'm not paying that much attention, but as an adult I was paying over attention to a lot of the details like that. And I find it very fascinating how Wes Craven tried to do all this within it. So they're not 100% cannibalistic hillbillies, because their intention at the camper is to get the food out of the camper, which is what Pluto's doing, and get the baby and get the daughter, Brenda. But they're supposed to kill everyone else. Not eat them, kill them. Pluto asked them specifically, did you kill everyone else?
Right.
They had a goal there. I'm assuming the goal was to kill them and to get what they need, which is the Brenda probably to procreate, to be honest with you, and the baby to eat. Or sacrifice, if you want to go it that way. And they got there, I think that Fred, the owner of the gas station, if he was 100% confident they were cannibals, he probably wouldn't have done business with them. I think they just eat everything they find, and they steal and pillage from every person that comes through that area, because they trade that stuff back to him. I don't know if he was 100% they're cannibals, and they don't act as though they're just cannibals.
Yeah, there is a question as to how much that gas station owner is culpable. How much does he know? It's kind of a Watergate thing. Like, what did the president know, and when did he know it? You know,
So it's interesting because I always just assumed they were cannibals until I rewatched it. I was like, well, maybe they're not really cannibals because they don't specifically want to kill and eat everyone in there. Like, they are very specific on who they're getting.
Listen, I think they would have gotten around to eating them all of them. That's too much good meat to lay around out, and they're living on the side of a rock.
Well, I mean, other thing is, they don't have refrigerators that we know of.
That's true.
They don't have power, no refrigerators, so they could just be eating enough for that week, and that's it.
Yeah. You would think they'd want to like steal the Winnebago because the Winnebago has power.
Well.
I was like, we're taking this Winnebago back. We're getting out of this like hut with the.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. That's probably what they should have done: is take the Winnebago, parked it within the freaking hill, and so they could be living in a Winnebago when it's cold outside.
Okay, I take back everything I said about them being sophisticated. Clearly, they're dumb. They should have done that. They are dumb.
Well, no,
box of rocks.
Well, you would think they'd be like a family that kind of takes all that stuff and salvages it and reuses it, and who knows? I mean, keep in mind this is early Wes Craven, so he probably was not thinking really deep on the motivations for these characters. We would like to think that he is, but I guarantee you, this is his early films. He was not thinking like he did in his latter films. Say that. I mean. I didn't think about this until I rewatched it, but in a sense, some of that religious ideology and imagery comes into play because the hillbillies essentially crucify Big Bob. They crucify him, and they put him up and then they set up flame. Stuff like that is like I don't think I ever really picked up on that in the 80s when I was a kid. I was like, oh shit, because I also didn't know his religious background either, which creeps into his movies because I think that's more of a until later in his film. I think later in his filmography, it was kind of unconscious in his earlier films.
Well, it's definitely creeps into Deadly Blessing, which should be also on your list.
Yes. I just recently saw that one. That was one I had. That one is one I did not own for the longest time.
Yeah.
Very obscure. Yeah.
I think he kind of got it out of his system on Deadly Blessing because the next thing was Swamp Thing. So at no point does Swamp Thing have any real other than maybe like Rebirth.
Swamp Thing is the Christ figure of the swamp.
Right.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right.
Simply makes you more of what you already are.
Anyway. This is turning into a very interesting conversation about this.
Indeed. Oh, and I also want to talk about the fact that the inspiration for this story is interesting because there's two origin stories for it, and nobody I've found could like agree as to which one. So I'm gonna guess Wes did both.
Okay.
So according to IMDb, the inspiration for this movie was Wes Craven was going on a cross-country trip with his then wife, and they were at a gas station or something, and they got into they got into an argument with some randos there because one of them shot an arrow over his head. Like they had a freaking bow and arrow. Wow. In the 60s or 70s, and I think in Arizona somewhere. And Wes was getting into an altercation with them, and he was like, I'm going to sue you. And the guy was like, and this yokel was like, sue me, city boy. Ha! I could kill you and your wife there and put you in a salt mine, and nobody would ever know.
No, that's awesome.
And that made him think, I bet you could. And they got in the car and went and drove away. Yeah. Probably terrified, as you would be.
Yeah.
And the other inspiration for this, which is where this movie shares a lot of DNA with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and which even Wes Craven himself came out and said he's a huge fan of Tobe Hooper's original Texas Chainsaw, and this movie was intentionally made as a homage. to this to Texas Chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
But in a weird way, I think this movie is probably a little bit more of a faithful adaptation of the Sawney Bean family legend.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those of you out there who don't know, the Sawney Bean clan was a clan of inbred cannibals in the Highlands of Scotland, and anywhere from like the 15th to the 18th century. No one really agrees as to when this took place,
Mm-hmm.
but apparently they would prey on travelers coming through the Scottish Highlands and basically take their stuff and
Mm-hmm.
kill and eat anybody who came by their little cave. And what initially started as just a man and wife eventually grew to be this huge inbred family of like 5 or 6 or 8 people or something. And supposedly the whole thing came to a halt when the daughter of the Sawney Bean clan went into a local village in Scotland to go get something,
Wow.
and they saw she had a necklace of like human bones around her neck or something, and they started asking her what was going on, and then eventually they put her in the dungeon, and somebody was doing some investigation, and they found out what was going on. And supposedly when the authorities went to their cave, they found these huge piles of bones
Wow.
and things, and like little chairs and beds made out of body parts and things. And so, of course, by order of King James, all these people got arrested and eventually put on trial. But the interesting thing, though, is that once everybody in the town found out just how horrific their crimes were,
Mm-hmm.
all the Sawney Bean clan members were executed in the most awful ways that
Yeah.
medieval late Middle Ages had to offer, including
Mm-hmm.
one guy. I think the mother or the father got torn and drawn and quartered by horses. The other
Mm-hmm.
somebody else was broken on the rack.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's all kinds of like really graphic, disgusting.
Yeah.
So Craven read
Yeah.
that and thought, oh, the people who were destroying the monsters became monsters themselves
Right.
by
Right.
over. Oh, I think his idea was like they over punished them for this. But then again, I mean, I'm not sure you can over punish inbred cannibals who killed like hundreds of people and ate them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's a cap to that, which is I think is
Yeah.
one of my small issues with this movie. I feel like Last House I think makes that point a little better, but this movie I feel like you don't he doesn't really make that point effectively because the normal quote unquote family, through defending their lives and trying to rescue their baby and stuff, I don't think they technically really become monsters because they don't torture these people, they don't rape
Mm-hmm.
anybody, they don't kill their pets, and they don't really have any dogs to kill,
No.
but
Mm-hmm.
like, or cats or what have you. Like they don't really match them monster for monster in this. They just do what people, quote unquote normal people, would do in that situation. The only time that it gets a little weird is when the very, 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 very end, when
Mm-hmm.
the son just wails on that one guy with a rock, I think, and just bashes his head in so hard. And that's literally the last frame of the movie is this POV shot of the the son, I believe, who's just going nuts.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's
Bobby.
it. Bobby, yeah, when Bobby goes nuts. That's it. That's the only time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think the movie kind of doesn't quite hit the mark thematically because of that. And also, that's the only other thing I don't like about this movie is that is the ending, and
Mm.
it's super abrupt.
Yeah.
It
And I
is.
guess,
Yeah, I
yeah,
like that. I like that because and it also it's kind of like all building up. Yeah, yeah, like it lingers a little bit more with Last House where he's like but like I think it makes this powerful point of that being the last shot of like this guy has been brought to a level of savagery when
Yes. Yes.
when his family was threatened, like just like the savagery of the evil of the hill people. They he has it kind of hits to that climax, where
Yeah.
there is they first fight back and are defeated, and then they use their cunning to make little booby traps because it's a Wes Craven movie. He's got to put some booby traps in there, and but then at
Bear
the
traps.
end,
Yeah.
yeah, bear traps, and then with the Wile E. Coyote thing, and then the last one is just like, no, this is just raw animal bloodlust, protection, vengeance, and then it just ends. So I kind of like that, but I see your point though.
I think
And apparently also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that abrupt ending works for this film because of that theme that this nuclear normal family has now become just as savage as the people who were brutalizing them. And it doesn't cut back to Doug with the baby, any of that. It stays with him. It doesn't cut back to the Brenda. It sticks with Bobby, who's the one we are following the most because he's the one that goes out in the hills, the first one to go out in the hills to find beauty. He's the one harboring this secret about what's happened and what could be happening for the entire movie, and you're wondering why. And he's the male character of the bunch and he's the youngest, and he's the male character of the bunch. So the youngest person of that clan has now become just as brutal as the people who had brutalized him and the rest of the family. I was fine with the ending. I'm still fine with the ending. It's not as cool as something like what the remake did, but it works for me. It works for the film that Wes Craven was crafting at this time period. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I was going to say originally there was a sequence that was going to follow this. Wes Craven did shoot more footage. There was supposed to be a sequence where the surviving members of the family come back to Bobby, like everybody comes back, and then they hug. So like they hug and just kind of walk off into the desert, hoping that they would find somebody to help and roll credits.
Yeah,
I have to say, you say nah, but honestly, I think that there is. I don't know if Craven could have done this because at that point, I don't think he was as assured an artist as he became. But there is a way to do that in a way that's haunting. Like there is a way to show them going off. Like if you had like a sort of dust storm coming up and kicking up into the desert, you can make it seem like the desert is absorbing them as they walk away. That they're now part of the hills.
I could only see that if it was from Ruby's perspective, and they had done a little bit more with her ideology about hearing and seeing ghosts or ghost-like figures. I did not see that from any other character in this entire film, and that would be really weird for something like that to be at the very end of this movie. Unless it was from a perspective of a character who already believed it. Like if the Ruby character was like coming to terms with the fact that her entire family is killed and most of the family that she tried to help is killed, and she's seeing the spirits going into the hills, and she's no longer going to be a part of that world anymore because that's what she doesn't want at the very beginning. She wants to leave that world. Like she's leaving that world behind. I could see that then, but only from her perspective, and she's not a main character in this story, so it would seem really weird. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting thing. I thought it was also interesting after Ruby has been mistreated and put on a chain and everything, she still cries in terror when he kills Mercury. When she's still on the side of the Hill family, even though she wants to leave. She's given up meat. She wants to go. She's like, she's going vegan and she wants to go out and go live in the city and everything. But still, her loyalties are still with her family. Well,
the thing is, Fred at the very beginning tells her she would never fit in with the real world.
Right.
And I think some of that is part of her, which is why they do that. I think Wes Craven does that so that when she gives Doug the baby, she has a reason to, like why she stops eating the meat. Like Ruby is our character who has lived in this world but no longer want to be a part of this world. And so that a lot of those little things are in there, but you also want to see it more. And I like. but he sticks with the nuclear family for the most part.
Yeah.
Um,
It has something interesting to say also, I think, about families, kind of like how Chainsaw kind of has something to
yeah.
say about families, and that, and I think I find this in life, is that every family has its own culture. And when you go into somebody else's family, it is like going into like another planet. It's like when I go into somebody else's house, I see, wow, this has a very interesting dynamic and hierarchy and everything. And I know like probably people who come to my house, they go like, there's a very interesting, like, this is their way they do this and this is the way they do that, and every house is kind of the same, but also kind of different, and it has its own rules, and that was sort of shown in the movie tonight. It was like, yeah, that family, they're more gruff and aggressive and kind of but they love each other.
Yes.
And while though you would not treat your children like that or talk to people like that, they do, and that's just part of their life. It's kind of like if you went into like a loud family that argues all the time, but they don't take anything personal. It's like, or like then you go into like, the uptight family who are like, don't talk about anything, and yeah, so it's real interesting. But I guess what they're saying here is like, yeah, that family is family, and also that we are just territorial, protective animals. No matter if we're in the desert or if we're from the suburbs, when it comes down to it, you protect your own, and that animal comes out pretty quickly. What like the story they based it on of where the people destroyed that family in the worst way. And he's talking about the line between animal and civility, and how it's porous. It's not like you're an animal or you're a person. It kind of there's this bleed a little bit in the middle.
Yeah, and also I feel like this all that you hear you talk about that reminds me of I was listening to a podcast called Classical Stuff You Should Know. And
Okay.
they do different classical works of literature.
Mm.
And they were talking about Robinson Crusoe, a book I
Mhm.
have never read, but of course
Mhm.
I'm aware of because of its
Sure.
huge imprints in pop culture.
Right.
I don't even think I've ever even seen any of the movie adaptations of it either. But these guys spend the whole time like, summarizing and analyzing Robinson Crusoe. And one of the passages they talk about that really like struck me, I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting for its time, especially, was that there's this whole section in the book where Robinson Crusoe is stranded on a desert island. This is like the original Stranded on a Desert Island story.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy is stranded in the 1700s, and he goes around the other side of the island, and he finds out that this island he has been on for a very long time is actually a place where cannibals come to eat their victims.
Oh my God.
Like they're on a different island. And
Oh.
they come in and they come to this island just to kill and eat their victims. And so they're cannibal natives. And so Robinson Crusoe finds out about this because he finds the bones and he hears the drums and stuff. And he watches them, but he doesn't do anything. But he knows they're going to come back. So he is enraged just at the idea of it as a 17th century, civilized man.
Right.
So he's got a gun. Don't ask me to explain how he has the gun. But he's got a gun. And he's like, when these guys come back, I'm going to kill all of them.
Right.
And he's loaded, but it takes days, almost weeks for the cannibals to finally come back.
Right.
And what's interesting is that he spends that time thinking about it. And then he finally just starts to basically talk himself out of this vengeance quest. Because he starts to think to himself, wait a minute, who am I to judge these people?
Right.
This is probably how they were raised.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I to go in and even if I agree that cannibalism is wrong for everyone, but for them, they don't know any better. So who am I to kill? Then I would be worse than them because they they're ignorant. They don't know.
Right.
But I do, and I have, his idea, his perspective. Like, I am a civilized guy. I do know better.
Right.
Why should I try to kill them for this? It doesn't make any sense. So he doesn't.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, he had time to think about it. Like, people in Hills Have Eyes did not have time to think. They were just reacting. Yeah, but no, that's a very good point. Their ways are not my ways, and that's sort of Hills Have Eyes. Their ways are not my ways, you know. And but it's but the thing they all have together is the territorial instinct, you know, to protect.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you guys? So did you guys ever hear about the plans for Hills Have Eyes 3?
Yes, they did. They made it. They changed the name of it though.
Oh, they did. What was it?
It's called Mind Ripper.
Oh, I didn't know Mind Ripper was supposed to be that, because I heard that the script that Wes Craven wrote with I can't remember the guy's name, but they were frequent collaborators, and it was supposed to be basically Hills Have Eyes in space.
What?
Because every franchise eventually goes to space, and if the franchise starts in space, you know it's eventually going to come to Earth. But Hills Have Eyes 3 would have been this: in the future, an intergalactic cruise liner crash lands on another planet, and the people these rich people on the cruise ship are trying to figure out a way to get to the ship to get back up. And lo and behold, the desert planet they're on is filled with cannibal inbred mutants.
Wow.
So, Mind Ripper was eventually made, and like Dave, I think it's a Blu-ray or 4K transfer. They call it Hills Have Eyes 3 Mind Ripper. But when it was when it was originally released, it was just called Wes Craven Presents Mind Ripper. I saw it when it originally came out, and I remember reading about it in Fangoria as Hills Have Eyes 3, that eventually had its title changed. Now, I do not know what the original script was. I guarantee you it has changed, because the Mind Ripper movie is so fucking hard to find on its own. I believe Dave got it on it was a limited release Blu-ray that he found. You know, Dave finds all those amazing movies. He like pre-orders them before they actually get out there. But he has it. I have not seen it since it originally came out. Like, I've never seen it.
I've never seen it,
except for that Lance Henriksen is in it.
Yeah,
I remember seeing bits and pieces of it on Showtime Beyond when I was a kid, and I never actually watched the whole thing.
I imagine I kind of put that Hills Have Eyes 3 like House 3, which is really the horror show. But when they remastered that, they call it House 3, the horror show. So, because they did a House 4, people probably were looking, where the fuck is House 3 at? We got House 1, 2, and 4, but no fucking 3. So when they re-released it, they call it House 3.
Now that I'm looking at it on IMDb, actually, according to this, you can stream Wes Craven's Mind Ripper on Prime Video.
Wow.
And I can almost see how there might be some connection to Hills Have Eyes, because it's supposedly of course, this is IMDb, so take it with a grain of salt. But according to this, the plot is government scientists attempt to reanimate a corpse they find in the desert, but end up inadvertently creating a monster. So I guess maybe this might have been, it was maybe supposed to be the corpse of one of the cannibals from the first movie.
We'll put that one on our list for our show. Because Conkle, I do know that you signed up for Hills Have Eyes Part 2, so we will have to talk about that one later.
I can't wait, because you enjoy it, and so
it will
be a Siskel Ebert kind of thing.
Oh wow! Dudes, it's not just on Prime. It's everywhere. It's on Tubi, Roku, Pluto, Plex, Fossum, Screambox.
That's because it's been dumped on every streaming platform there is, because there is no market for it. Like, it's such a weirdly forgotten movie that I'm not surprised it's on every freaking streaming platform. But like
With
I
the
said, what was that?
with the exception of Wishmaster, anything Wes Craven presents is like, skip it.
It's rough because he was trying to be a legitimate horror producer for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
He did a decent remake of Carnival of Souls that no one remembers.
No, no,
You didn't like that one?
no, Kevin.
See, I
It
enjoyed
did
that,
not,
dude.
man,
It is
did
not like the original. It is not like the original. Don't get me wrong. You have to take that movie on its own merit.
I gotta go, guys. I gotta go. I will not be back. I thank you, Kevin, for having me a few times, man. I can't.
Oh, come on. We had you on
You
this
just-
show for Valentine. That's probably our most entertaining episode ever, dude. I love to get you on these shows. Talk about these movies, man.
Oh no. It's okay.
Dude,
You just
dude, guys. Speaking of I'm looking at Mind Ripper's stuff on IMDb. Allegedly, Lance Henriksen, who stars in this movie, is actually embarrassed by his involvement with this
Oh, yeah.
film, which for Lance Henriksen is saying something.
Yeah, because he's done like a Hellraiser sequel, a freaking Mangler sequel.
Yep.
He's done a sequel for every franchise out there. Yeah.
that was his old low point. You know, Mangler 2, kind of took the took the thing. He quotes Spice Girls in that movie, for
And don't
God's
get me
sake.
wrong, dude. I am a huge fucking Lance Henriksen. I will watch
Oh.
anything with Lance Henriksen in it.
Amen.
Same.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
and
same.
I even have his book. So yeah, me and
Oh.
Lance, I love to meet Lance one day. But
Yeah.
let's not talk about Mind Ripper /
Yeah.
Hills Have Eyes 3 right now.
Yeah,
I
that's
do have to ask, guys, is there anything else we need to talk about in regards to the original Hills Have Eyes? Or have we
Yes, there is, Kevin. There
Yes.
definitely is.
All right.
And that is the fact, once again, I want to bring up the real star of this movie, which is Beast the dog. And I want to say that, like I said, this dog could have been like, he kills more cannibals than the humans in this movie. So I think that immediately makes him Dog Terminator, which I think qualifies him for my Schwarzenegger alternator.
Now, let me just preface this with the fact that Congo has not heard you do these yet, because these are
No, Conkle, you're in for a treat.
You
Okay.
have to explain this to him, and
Okay,
I'll let
yeah.
you do your thing, okay?
Okay. Well, here we go now. So basically what I'm saying here is that in most movies, especially horror movies and science fiction movies and what have you, you have characters who do the kill line, the quip, before you kill the bad guy or the monster kills the victim. You have like Freddy Krueger had the quips. And so I think as Arnold Schwarzenegger, I have the king of the quips. So I think here we have an opportunity to do the Schwarzenegger alternate lines for the hero of this movie, which is Beast the dog. Now,
Right.
This is the first time I've ever done this for a canine, so this will be very interesting. So here we go. I have 4 of these, and I'm stuck on this accent, so don't worry about it. It'll come away when it's done. So here are the Schwarzenegger alternators for Beast when he kills the one guy and throws him off a cliff.
Oh, Mercury.
So Kevin, I'm gonna need your help for this.
Okay.
Whenever I need you to do the death scream of Mercury when he goes over the cliff,
Okay.
and that'll feed into the line. So right after I say the number, you can't come in with that, and I'll react. Here we go. Number 1. Man's best friend, your worst nightmare. Number 2.
What?
Never bring a knife to a dog fight. Yeah. Number 3. He was a bad boy. And finally, number 4. Kevin's run out of breath. He's laughing too hard. Now the heels do have eyes and a few other body parts.
Dang, that was awesome.
Dude, I like the fact that you chose Beast to do this one.
Right.
That's freaking brilliant, dude. So for everyone listening, I really love when he does his his Arnold Schwarzenegger alternators for the show. We do like to have fun in our program. But I do have to ask you both, is there anything else we need to discuss in regards to the Hills Have Eyes? Or can we save those for Hills Have Eyes 2 and Mind Ripper?
Okay, all right. I just have to mention real quick when Bobby, or the blonde kid and everything, when he finally does like reveal that the dog is dead. Uh, it is a glorious snot explosion. Just explode. Like just he's like it's nasty, dude. And I guess it was cold or something. But watching it projected tonight and everything, it was just like it's just like this is like the grossest thing in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, like all out of his face, it was like wow.
Whoa. You know, Dave's going to have to tell us about the 4K because I mean that might be too much, dude.
All right,
and yeah, that's all I got, man. That's all I got.
All right, so I want to thank you both for being on the show today, which we discussed Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes from 1977. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, for you guys listening to the program, what we love to do is we love to rate the film between 1 and 5. 1 being poor, 5 being amazing. What we like to do is we like to take an object, quote, or saying from the movie to attribute to our rating. So, guys, what is your rating for this film and what object, quote, or saying would you attribute to the film? And we're going to start with you, Thomas.
Well, I think there's a lot of things I could pick from, Kevin, but I think that there's really no one object that's more iconic to this movie than Michael Berryman's bullet and bone necklace that he wears across his chest. So I feel like that is what I will take. That is my trophy from Michael Berryman character's dead body that I take with me off into the desert. And I would say this movie, I'll give it 3.5 bone necklaces out of 5.
Okay.
It's not a masterpiece, and it's not. Excuse me, and it's not. I mean, it's definitely not. It's not better than Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but like I said, it is the best. It's the best ripoff of Texas Chainsaw that's ever done. I mean, honestly, you could do so much worse with Texas Chainsaw knockoffs out there. I mean, it's kind of like, although this is probably a bad analogy, but it's kind of like, what's the best Alien knockoff?
Right.
Most people say Galaxy of Terror.
Yeah.
And they're right, because it is. But like, yeah, that's the best knockoff of that. And it has its own, and because of that, it has its own charm. And unlike I mean, it didn't quite make like a cultural seismic shift like Last House. It wasn't quite the hand grenade to the culture that Last House was, but it's definitely, you could see a stepping stone from that to the guy who made Nightmare on Elm Street. You could see the progression, and if you're a wannabe Wes Craven file, you're a scholar, as it were, which there is some Wes Craven scholarship out there. There was a guy who did a recent biography called The Soul of Wes Craven. It's a huge book. I can't remember the name of the author, but I listened to an interview with him, and he did a lot of stuff that I didn't know about. Like the whole reason why he got thrown out of Wheaton College, that comes from that book.
That's cool.
So yeah, I recommend that. So I think, yeah, if you're gonna call yourself any kind of scholar of Wes Craven, you got to see this movie. And yeah, so but for me, I don't think I'm gonna buy it. I'm not sure I want to watch it over and over again, but I did enjoy watching it, and I did enjoy talking about it with y'all. So 3.5 bones, bone necklaces out of 5.
All right, what about you, Conkle?
All right, all right. So I would say I was probably really not planning on enjoying it as much as I did, but sometimes also it's like the time, it was a stressful day, so this was very cathartic for me tonight and
Aw.
everything. So it was good. Sometimes the headspace you're in when you watch a horror movie, it's like this was the movie I needed to see tonight, to reset the hard drive. And so I mean I really walked away really liking this, even kind of the fact that it's kind of shitty, so, I mean it's so I give it 4 snot plosions.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna give it 3 maulings by Beast.
Yeah.
And I actually went down on my rating for this film because I rewatched it with a brain.
Mhm.
You guys obviously did not grow up watching it as much as I did, and I would have given
No.
it 4 before having rewatched it.
Right.
I don't think this film holds up nearly as well as I remembered it. Now, I did see some things in this film that I hadn't seen before, but that still doesn't make it a good movie, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Sure.
no.
And if
Sure.
I see a 4K version of this from Dave,
Yeah.
maybe I do. But I have a really good Blu-ray copy of it, and I don't
Nice.
expect to see anything major about it.
Yeah.
I think this is just like I think I have mixed feelings about Last House on the Left. It's the same with this
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Wes Craven is one of my favorite directors. But
Yep.
unlike John Carpenter's early films, I don't think that Wes Craven was at his peak in his early films. I can go back and watch
No.
John Carpenter's. Oh my god, now I'm drawing a blank on his first movie. Fuck,
Dark Star.
Dark Star. I
Yeah.
find that fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, there's a lot of unneeded humor in Last House on the Left that when I rewatched
Yes.
it, I did not like.
Yes.
And this film has no humor in this film. So it would be very interesting to know what his mindset was between that film and this film, when that film was hugely successful, why he decided to put no humor in this film and play it so straight. I would be really curious to know. But that being said, that's what I give it now. When I watch part 2, when we have a conversation part 2, I'll see if I still give that the same rating I did in the 80s. I'm pretty sure I won't.
Oof.
And I've actually read a lot about Wes Craven's films, but it's been a long time since I've seen these 2 in particular.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's what I give it. So,
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool, man.
Yeah,
So-
it does make me want to. I'm gonna try and make a conscious effort to watch the remake.
I love the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. I think what Alexander Aja did when he updated the story was fucking spot on perfect. And he was good at that. Those remakes. He did. Among this one, he did this one. He did Mirrors. He did Piranha 3D.
Did he do? I'm sorry. Did he do the Hills Have Eyes remake too?
No, he did not do.
Oh, okay. Because that was also interesting because like the idea was intriguing to me, which is that it's basically the Hills Have Eyes clan versus a National Guard troop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we talk about the military identity in all of those movies. And I forgot the presence they had in this film, and we didn't mention that the fact that the whole area was a test site for the aircraft and stuff like that, and they're flying overhead the entire thing, which is what drives Big Bob off the road. But of course, he doesn't blame the military or the police ideology because he was from that ideology. There are a lot of great things to be said. I think this is a product of its time too. I think this is a movie that's really a product of its time, and it feels that way. Whereas you can watch a John Carpenter film, and they're less likely to feel like a product of their time. And so agree. The early Wes Craven films are not hit and miss. They're just whether or not I could put my mindset in that time period to enjoy them while I'm watching them.
Mm-hmm.
I will always have fond memories of watching this in the 80s, dude. I'm sorry. I will always have fond memories of that.
Yeah.
That won't destroy it. It's not like Last House on the Left where
Right.
Yeah, you'll have to listen to that podcast episode, everyone. That one I have some questions about even to this day. But I do want to thank you all for listening to us conversate about this movie. I really do hope that you have gotten a clearer insight on this film. And if you've never seen it, you go out there and search it out, because we did not give away all the details of the film, although we did a good job of it.
I think so.
And the fact that we are doing our Wes Craven films themed month this month, you get to see a lot of our ideology and our thought processes when we watch these classic and modern day Wes Craven movies. We've already done one on Swamp Thing, we've already done one on Scream, and we're gonna have more coming up for you as the month goes by, so please check those out. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, make sure to like, follow, share, subscribe. Do that thing you do on your favorite podcast, app, Spotify, or YouTube. And please check out our other podcast, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, which delves into the amazing oeuvre that is the 60s, 70s, and 80s of Hammer Studios. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we hope that you have enjoyed yourselves. And please, when you go into the hills, listen to Fred at the gas station, and don't go in the hills, people. Good day.
Beast. Beast.
Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.